Welcome, everyone. Kevin Carpenter here. I'm honored to be talking with Sean Parent, who is going to be our first keynote at CppOnSea this year. If you don't know Sean, I'll let Sean introduce himself because that's probably better than me reading off the script.
Okay, I'm Sean Parent. Let's see, I've uh, been developing C++, I guess, now for about 30 years. I work at Adobe. I'm a senior principal scientist, currently running our software technology lab, which is a group that's focused on improving software engineering practice, which we define as being distinct from process. So we're concerned with what code engineers write when they sit down at the keyboard. And we're taking a long-range view of it. So looking out over the next decade, how do things change?
Okay, so I got a follow up long range view because when I was looking at things today, was it about 2013 that you started giving talks or even earlier than that? I mean, that was one of the first ones I found.
Okay, certainly earlier than that. I started giving talks, um, probably around 2002 timeframe,
Wow.
which is when the first software technology lab started. And well, I gave a couple talks before that at things. I worked at Apple, so I gave a talk at WWDC way, way, way back. Um, but about 2002, we launched the first software technology lab, and started collaborating with Texas A&M and Indiana University. Um, and we were part of the industrial affiliates program at Texas A&M. So I gave a couple of talks at Texas A&M, and those kind of snowballed. So people at the talk saw the talks and invited me to give other talks. And for the most part, they were just at universities or at
Mhm.
corporations. So I gave talks at Yahoo and IBM and Lockheed Martin, and as well as Texas A&M. And then let's see, in I'd given a talk at the first BoostCon. Dave Abrahams invited me to give a talk there. So I gave the opening keynote at the first BoostCon. And then after that, I think it was Herb Sutter who invited me to give a talk at Going Native. And that was 2013. That's my C++ seasoning talk.
Yes.
Um, there are some earlier talks online. I think there's a talk from like 2007 or sometime in there where I gave a Google Tech talk that was recorded. Um, yeah, so been doing it for a while. It's just YouTube is a new phenomenon. So
That's true. Needless to say, you're a pro.
a
Little experience.
little bit, a little
So,
bit. I'm at this point. I'm pretty comfortable. So.
so I gotta ask when you're, because I saw in an interview you gave, you were talking about the amount of material that you end up putting in a talk. With all the talks that you've made, the talk you're giving this year at CppOnSea is all the safeties. How
Yep.
much of your previous talks kind of round themselves in pieces or parts into future talks? Kind of like how you talk about the STL builds together.
Yeah. Um, I frequently will find when I'm giving another talk that it will touch on a previous talk, and so I'll try to steal some material, or even occasionally steal a few slides, or uh, or things like that. Certainly, there's lots of overlap. After the C++ seasoning talk, I've given a series of talk called Better Code Talks. Um, uh, and so my better code talks, I'm trying to, each one builds on the others. And so sometimes, you can't just drop the audience in assuming, oh, you've seen my other 10 talks, so you know where
Right.
we're going now. Um, so sometimes there to kind of lay the groundwork, I'll steal material. So, yep.
So from the Better Code Talks, I just kind of jokingly want to ask, so is the book back in works yet or not? Because Amazon didn't show it yet.
Yeah, the book is back in works now. since I have a team again for Software Technology Lab, I have a team of co-authors. And
Nice.
so internally, we just launched a Better Code seminar. So Dave Abrahams gave the first 2 lectures in our Better Code seminar, and we've kind of gone through all of my talks and all of the pile of notes that I have around the talks, and distilled that down a bit, and laid it out as a seminar, and taken all the scraps of writing that I have from the mythical book. Um, and so now we are all collectively working in that direction. Yeah.
I'm excited because I mean, so I was talking with one of a new person at C++ now that gave a lightning talk, and we were just talking about how, in school him and I both did a lot of debate. And at one point after one of the CPP cons, I was approached by a publisher and they asked me to write a book, and I actually started on it. And I have to say, wow, that is like one of the hardest things. I think it would be easier to write individual talks than to go through and write individual chapters. So, that's why I was saying, I was jokingly asking, because it's a big task writing something. I mean, I do think talks are easier. Not that I give talks like you do, but
Yeah. Yeah. It is, writing and kind of pulling everything together, and staying on track is very difficult. Um, uh, and I like having co-authors. The collaboration is fun, but that also means disagreements and conflicts, and and so that's a challenge. But I think it'll all be for the better in the end. Um, I think we all have a fairly clear vision, uh, uh, that we're refining over time, but I think it's a pretty solid revision for what we want the arc to be of this book. I contributed some to Alex Stepanoff and Paul McJones' Elements of Programming. I wrote an appendix for that with Bjarne Strustrup. And
yep.
um, in that book, I was managing Alex and Paul at the time. So that book was a challenge, and a lot of people don't even realize that's we wrote an entire draft of a book that was going to be called Programming as Mathematics, which you can find, I think, under Notes as Programming on StepanoffPapers.com,
Oh,
which is
wow.
Alex's website. And so we wrote this entire draft of a book and then scrapped it and started again. Um, so it's a challenge. I have great respect for authors who are able to sit down and pull it off.
Agreed.
Yep.
So, but the reason we're here is because you're keynote and you're coming to CppOnSea for your first
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm excited. A
I
little nervous about how to get from the airport to CppOnSea, but we'll figure it out.
So I have to say that that's kind of funny, because last year was my first year going too, and the train system is wonderful. Like,
Oh, good.
I mean, you could probably do it some other way, but to get to the venue from the train is like barely a half a mile walk from where the train exits. It's a high speed train. My wife and I, we want to move to Europe just for the transit system. It just works so well.
Yeah. Yeah. You always, coming from the States where we do not have much in the way of a transit system. Every time I'm in Europe, I'm nervous, like, how am I going to get from A to B? And it's like, what's the schedule for the train? And then you realize, oh, the trains run every couple minutes, so you just show up and get on.
And it's and what we found was even funnier is, even throughout some of the other countries we went through, Google or well, I don't know about Google, but Apple Maps at least just works. Like, if you turn around and tell it where you want to go and you set it to transit, it'll tell you which train you need to get on, when it's running, if there's a delay. So yeah, getting to Folkestone from London is a nice leisurely train ride. Well, I don't know about the tube being leisurely, but the high speed from like St. Pancras to Folkestone is a leisurely.
Okay,
So
great.
that won't be a problem. What else are you excited about with CppOnSea? I mean, for all the
Uh,
conferences you've been to.
After all the conferences I've been to, my favorite part of every conference is just spending time with the community, right? And I find every conference I speak at has a little bit, a little bit different flavor, a little bit different mix of people. There's always some familiar faces there. Um, uh, 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 but that's, I enjoy that part of it. And I look at it. I got my first job at Apple because I attended a conference and asked somebody who was fairly well known um, if he wanted to work on a project together, and that turned into me getting a job at Apple. And so I always feel like I owe something to these communities, and so I like going to the conference. I won't commit to speak at a conference unless I can stay for the whole thing. I don't just fly in and out and be that guy. Um, uh, I go and attend the talks, and if I don't get lost in the hallway track, which is frequent,
Yeah.
um, and then enjoy spending time with the community and having amazing conversations. So
So I'm really glad you said that, because one of the things I wanted to say is, it's one thing people are like, especially when we did online, you can watch a lot of talks on YouTube or whatnot after it's done. But that was one part I wanted to add is like, if you're anywhere where you can get to CPP on C, to come see Sean Parent's talk, all the safeties, which I've seen some of the slides on, but I don't want to give anything away. But I like how you pare down some things from earlier talks. Um, you definitely want to come, because it's not just being able to see the talk, but it's I just think of the talks where I've got to actually sit off to the side and talk to you about things that were either C++ related or just life related, and that you can't get that from YouTube.
yeah, yeah, I definitely agree. If people haven't been to a conference, come to a conference. If you haven't, you know, spoken at a conference, I say, give a lightning talk. Sign up for that at least. Get some experience. Uh, I think, well, my opinion is that every engineer, every programmer should attend at least one conference a year, and just for well, first I find it very very refreshing. You learn a
Hmm.
lot, and you end up with just a bunch of ideas
Yeah.
and going back to work feeling motivated and like, oh, there's all these things I want to try.
Yep.
But you'll also make contacts. You'll meet people uh, uh, who you'll be able to pick up the phone and call them or send them an email or a Slack message and have a conversation about a topic. And the ones you've met each other face to face, that can be a phenomenal resource. Right?
Absolutely. Well, Sean, I want to thank you for taking time to chat with us today. For everybody that wants to come, this is, CPP on C is going to be running from June 28th to June 30th in Folkestone. There are some classes which will run on June 27th. If you're interested, head over to the website to register. And Sean, thank you again for giving me some time today so we could chat. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thank you. It was fun.
We'll see you at the conference.
Okay.
Bye.